Hey, what's going on, guys? Good Saturday morning to you. Welcome into the Colten Kahler Show. It is April 23rd. We're getting close to the end of April and the start of May. So, before we know it, it'll be summer. But hey, it's a great time for sports and everything going on. So let's take a look and let's get right into it because we got a busy day ahead. I want to look at the St. Louis Cardinals. We'll start there. They won yesterday over the Cincinnati Reds 4-2. Steven Matz got the win in 5 strong innings. Hunter Green got the loss. He moves to 1-2 with a 5.27 ERA on the year. And the big question I want to look at here is, what is St. Louis going to do with Nolan Gorman? You look at Paul DeJong, and he has been someone that the front office has loved, and I'm not sure why. His defense is pretty good. He's shown at times that he can hit, but he's just not consistent enough. And I know that the spring was not what they were hoping to see out of Nolan Gorman, and they had all faith pointing towards Paul DeJong coming into the spring as well. So they really wanted to give him a fair shot this year, and I don't know why, because Gorman's off to a hot start already. He had 7 home runs in 7 games, and he's kind of cooled off then. But if you look at his stats, the only extra base hits he has this year, though, are the 7 home runs. Doesn't have a double or a triple. And he has 18 strikeouts, batting .327 in Memphis right now. So he's played in 13 games this year, 49 at-bats, 16 hits, and out of those 16, 7 are home runs. So there is a little bit of room for concern there because he's had quite a lot of pop and hasn't been able to do a whole lot else. But at what point are they going to try and move on? Because they've got to do something. And I know that the team's playing well right now. Their Cardinals are now 8-4, I believe, on the year. And you don't want to mess with the team's mojo. I get that, but Edmundo Sosa in the lineup last night, 0 for 3. In his few starts, he has played decently. So it's just that there's got to be something done, because I don't think that they're going to get the production that they want from DeJong. And I think Gorman's got to be that guy. Now, whether they move Tommy Edman to shortstop and Gorman to second, or move Gorman to shortstop, I really don't know. I would assume they would move Edman to third base, or shortstop. But there's got to be some way to get around this, because there's an odd man out, and it's not Tommy Edman. Edman has played so well this year. I'm going to see if I can find his stats for you real quick. Edman, he is batting .341 on the year. Yeah, .341 with a .413 on base percentage. His OPS is over 1,000. His WAR is just short of Nolan's at 1.1. Edman has been playing phenomenal this year for the Cardinals, and he's doing it mainly at the bottom of the lineup. We've seen Dylan Carlson struggle, especially at the top of the lineup. He's now average up to 196. He was in the lower mid 100s there, so he's kind of starting to climb things. But and he's kind of like Paul Goldschmidt. They're both batting 196 right now, where it's early in the year. They don't hit that well at the beginning of the year, so hopefully things can progress throughout the season. But I really want to see what St. Louis can do with Paul DeJong, or with Nolan Gorman, because I just don't think Paul DeJong is the answer right now for the Cardinals. But send me your thoughts, what you think the Cardinals should do if you're a Cardinals fan, or pay attention to the NL Central, see what St. Louis should do. And I think they've got to move someone, whether they trade DeJong or trade Sosa. They've got to try something, because the other thing is St. Louis needs a 5th starter. Until Jack Flaherty comes back, which who knows when that's going to be, the Cardinals need a 5th starter. Hicks is, he pitched okay, didn't get any help from his offense in that 3rd game of the Miami series, so you really can't fully put that on him. But Dakota Hudson hasn't looked good this year. Granted, he's coming back from Tommy John, so it could take him a bit to adjust, but hasn't looked great. The top 3 of Waino, Michaelis, and Matz are, they look fine, but that back end is, you can't just continue to put Hicks out there for 3 innings and pull him and then make it a bullpen game. It's not going to win you ball games. So it's early. I get that, and they're trying to really make it work, and hope that they don't have to do anything until Flaherty gets back. But even when Flaherty gets back, I still truly think that they could use a fifth starter, move Hicks back to the bullpen as a possibly, a long-term relief guy. Um, we've seen not too many issues with the bullpen yet, but Drew Verhagen just got hurt. He was, put on the IL with a hip, and I think Hicks could be moved in the bullpen. When the rosters get shortened, I believe in May. It's coming up. They're going to move it down to 26. You move Hicks to the bullpen. You send a few guys down or whatnot, and you make adjustments. But I truly think St. Louis, if they're going to contend this year for, a deep run in the playoffs, they've got to find that fifth starter. I have no idea who that fifth starter should be, but they need to make a move for somebody decent, because the back end is really what's going to hurt them right now, and it's really hurting them with Hudson and with Hicks. So I think St. Louis should trade DeYoung. In my opinion, I would trade DeYoung because I think you have a lot more upside with Sosa than you do with DeYoung. So you bring up Gorman as well, let him play, let him get through his struggles a little bit and see what he can do for you. But those are the two options that I like there for St. Louis. What else do we have? Oh, I'm trying to see. Oh, yes, the baseball gods absolutely hate Tommy Pham. Tommy Pham, former St. Louis Cardinal, former Padre. Did he play for anybody else? I don't really know. Made a comment. I'm gonna pull it up here on my phone. Made a comment at the beginning of the season that when Tommy signed with the Reds, he said, "I'm playing to get my numbers, man. I'm dead honest with you. I'm playing to get some numbers. I don't care about anything else. I'm looking out for me." And so far into the season, Tommy Pham is, let's see, they're 2-12. So 14 games into the year, Tommy Pham is batting 146, and he has 6 hits and 41 at bats. What stats are you looking at, my man? What on earth? And the baseball gods hate Tommy Pham. I mean, you can't say something like that and then just expect to follow it up with a unreal performance. I mean, 6 for what? 41? Yeah, 6 for 41, batting 146. That is embarrassing. But the Reds are embarrassing. I mean, their owner said on their opening day that their fans were upset, and he said, "Where are they going to go?" And Rodney said last Tuesday, between the lines, he said, "Well, they're not going to Great American Ballpark. I'll tell you that much." And it's truly sad. Some of these teams in baseball, you see the Athletic fans. I truly think that the Athletic fans, they are boycotting their team. I mean, their team took an absolute dumpster fire, just a absolute dump this offseason. And I truly think that they are boycotting right now. They don't want to support their ownership. It's not that they don't want to support their team. They don't want to support their ownership. And so they are not going to games. I mean, we saw their attendance this last week was barely over 3,000. I mean, that's unbelievably low. Unbelievably low. And it's, I mean, there's nothing there to like if you're the Athletics. And I don't blame their fans, because their ownership traded everything away. I mean, absolutely everything away. But the Athletics, though, they're actually, from what I saw last time I looked, they weren't that bad. Let's look at the standings here. Yeah, they're 8-7, so they're a game above 500. It's not too terrible. I mean, they're better than Texas right now, and they're technically better than Houston. So good for them. But they've got to find a way, in my opinion, to get back, because they were just in the playoffs. Not too long ago. At least they were in the playoffs like twice, here in the last 6 years or so. So, it's unfortunate for them, and I feel bad for their fans. But you look at Tommy Pham, and the baseball guys just absolutely hate him because of the comments that he made, and you got to expect that. It's a little bit of karma. But to me, that truly shows the attitude with Tommy Pham, and why I don't think St. Louis liked him. I don't think San Diego liked him, because he was only worried about himself, getting me and mine. And here he is trying to do that again in Cincinnati. and possibly a player that thinks he's a lot better than what he actually is. When he was with St. Louis, I thought the guy had future, but it ended up not to be. I can't remember if St. Louis traded him or let him walk, but he ended up in San Diego as well. So it's a bad look for Tommy Pham and a bad look for the Cincinnati Reds. I mean, 2-12, the worst team in Major League Baseball right now. I mean, the Pirates are at 7-7, and they've beat the Cubs 3 times this year. What's going on there? And the Baltimore Orioles are 5-9, and the Reds had a late collapse to where they missed the playoffs last year. They were so close to being a playoff team, and they had that second half collapse with the Padres as well. And they're just an absolute joke this year already, 7 games behind. Hey, St. Louis 1 game up at 8-4 in the Central yesterday. The Brewers and the Cubs lost, so it's a good day for Cardinals fans there. Let's see. What else do we have on the docket? It's kind of hard. I don't have my glasses here, so it's hard to read. Oh, the unwritten rules are so dumb. Last night, the Washington Nationals were playing. Give me a second. There was a situation last night in that game. Washington Nationals and the Giants. Giants were up 6-1 in the 8th, and there was a base hit, but the runner took off in the 8th. And he tried to come around and score, got thrown out at the plate. I mean, he was out by 4 steps. I mean, it wasn't close. And they were very upset, the Nationals were, that this runner was trying to steal and advance. And at this point, why play the rest of the game? If you're down 6-1, you might as well just wave in, throw in the white towel, and just quit playing, because apparently that's what we're supposed to do. And because it's the unwritten rules of baseball, I mean, come on. And it's so dumb, because you're basically telling one team to quit playing and the other team to keep trying. And a lot of these at bats mean they mean a lot for guys, not only record wise, but it's kind of how they get paid. And if you're telling them just to quit, they could miss out on bonuses, they could miss out on extra money, their performance could go down to where it gets affected on how a organization looks at them. Unwritten rules are unwritten for a reason, and it's because they're dumb. They're not in the game of baseball. They shouldn't be in the game of baseball. And if you don't like it, don't be down 6-1 in the 8th inning. Don't come crying when you're a terrible baseball team like the Washington Nationals, and be upset when a team is still trying to play the game of baseball and hustle. I mean, good Lord. It can't be that difficult to figure out. And we've seen it multiple times throughout the last few years. Fernando Tatis swinging with the bases loaded. Yermin Mercedes swinging and hitting your grand slam with the bases loaded when they're already up. If you just want these guys to quit playing, then make a run rule or whatever. Throw in the white towel to say we're done for the night, we're good, and move on. Because unwritten rules and all this BS is a bunch of garbage. All right, and I'm tired of seeing stuff and watching players get upset about it. It's just a complete joke. And here we are. And it's, again, unwritten rules are dumb, and they're unwritten for a reason, and it's because they're dumb. And I've been known to say that time in and time out again. So I'm going to digress on that issue, but unwritten rules in baseball are dumb. Is there a proper way to retire? We've seen here in the last few weeks, Jay Wright retires this week, unannounced, kind of like out of nowhere. I mean, no one was expecting it. Roy Williams last year retires at the end of the year, goes out very quietly. No one knew that he was going to be retiring. But Coach K announces his retirement, goes the entire year of having the Coach K retirement tour. You saw the retirement tour with Derek Jeter. I know some people don't like Jeter. There's that whole issue. People think he's overrated, whatnot. But is there a proper way to retire? Send in your thoughts here on the Saturday morning show with Colten Kahler. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But is there a proper way to retire? And I'm not sure where I stand on the issue, because I still think people should be recognized, especially when they're some of the greatest players and some of the greatest coaches of all time. But there's definitely, they Duke milked that so bad. And the media ate it up, as you would expect they would because it's Duke and it's Coach K and whatnot. But, I still think that Coach Williams and Jay Wright should still get their recognition a little bit as well. So, I don't mind, them just kind of going unannounced. It's got to be tough to be a player to deal with that. But if you are a um in the position of Coach K, they milked that so bad, and it did kind of drive me nuts a little bit. So I would be more towards the Jay Wright and the Roy Williams side of things. And I think there is a proper way to retire. If you want to announce it towards the end of the season, that's fine. That way you can, they can do one last, special celebration or whatnot right towards the end of the season. But to go the entire year, as Derek Jeter did, and good God, everywhere he went. Here was, I went to Derek Jeter's last game at Busch Stadium in Busch. They gave him a guitar or something. I mean, they gave him some sort of gift. I can't even remember what it was. But everywhere Derek Jeter went, he was, honored and recognized, and it's overkill. It's overkill. And I think that's exactly what happened with Coach K. So I would say there's a proper way to retire. I'll put my stance there. So send in your thoughts if you think there is or is not a proper way to retire. Hey, NBA playoffs going on. Last night, the Bulls got absolutely dominated. I mean, the Bulls are just bad. I mean, how do you lose by 30 at home? And it's just brutal for the Bulls. So Milwaukee takes a 2-1 series lead, just absolutely dominating the Bulls in the first and third quarters, and that was pretty well the story for the game. Nikola Vucevic leads the Bulls with 19 points, 6 rebounds. Basically, I think it's determined that if DeMar doesn't go off for about 40, the Bulls are not going to win. As he had a great game too. The Bulls arguably should have won game one as well, even when they shot terribly. And there was, some things down the stretch that did not go their way. But if they, if they lose this next game, obviously it's all over. I mean, there's no shot. And I wouldn't have been surprised if the Bulls would have lost in 4. But they managed to win game 2, and if they can win game 4, it would make the last 2 games of the series very interesting, going back to Milwaukee for game 5, and seeing what they can do there. The Hawks, with the big win last night over the Heat, 111-110, that keeps them in the series. If Miami wins that game, that series is definitely over in 4. Trae Young with 24 points, 8 assists, 4 boards, a big performance from him. Jimmy Butler and the Heat, just not enough to get past the Hawks. It was the fourth quarter right there. Hawks outscore the Heat 34-25. I didn't watch really much of the NBA playoffs yet, but keeping up on scores. I did watch the end of the Suns-Pelicans game. That was a very good game. Brandon Ingram goes off for 34, but not enough to get the job done for the Pelicans, and they fall behind 2-1 in the series. Devin Booker did not play last night because he's dealing with, I believe, a hamstring issue. Is it hamstring or hand? One of the two. And just a gutted performance last night from the Suns. DeAndre Ayton showing off why he was a true number 1 pick. 28 points and 17 boards to lead the Suns. So a big performance last night. And if the Suns can get a big win in game 4, it sounds like Booker's going to be out for a little bit the foreseeable future. So the Suns have got to find a way to get through this series and possibly get Booker back and get to, the next round. So today, NBA Finals, you have 76ers and Raptors. That's game 4. That should wrap up. 76ers are up 3-0. Joel Embiid basically hitting a buzzer beater in game 3 to take the win for the 76ers. Mavericks and Jazz. Mavericks are up 2-1 in the series and seem like they have control of it. Jalen Brunson has played so well through the first 3 games there. So big game 3 with the Celtics and Nets tonight. Boston leads 2-0. That'll be a big game there. As if Boston goes ahead 3-0, is there even a point of bringing back Ben Simmons? I mean, Ben Simmons shouldn't be playing in the first place, in my opinion. You have a team that's gone an entire year building up just kind of that chemistry and whatnot, and you get a guy who gets traded, and the NBA media jumps all over the place. Either Ben Simmons is, the greatest thing since sliced bread, or Ben Simmons might be the worst basketball player on the face of the earth. I mean, there is no in between. And I guess depending on who you listen to, he's kind of what you get told. But there's no point. If they get down 3-0, Ben Simmons is not going to take the Nets team to the next level. I don't think Ben Simmons is that good. I've never been high on Ben Simmons. He's a good defender, but offensively, he doesn't bring anything to the table. And we've seen that year in and year out. So one thing that just caught my eye here, you look at tonight, Mavericks Jazz, that's in Utah. You can get tickets for as low as $40. Celtics Nets tonight, you can get tickets as low as about $240. So a $200 difference there between the two games for the NBA playoffs. That's unbelievable. But that is New York, and that's Celtics Nets for you. So you look at that matchup there. And then the late cap, the Grizzlies and the Timberwolves. Memphis with the earth-shattering comeback the other night over Minnesota. Minnesota absolutely blew that game. I think they scored, 12 points in the final quarter? I mean, it was embarrassing to lose by 9. Yeah, 12 points in the final quarter. It's just absolutely embarrassing. They're up by 25 at one point in that game. So that's what's going on around the NBA. Today in the MLB, St. Louis. Oh, nope. That's not the first game of the day. That's yesterday. Cleveland and New York today. Just some series to look at. Chicago and Minnesota. That's on FS1 at 3:05. Milwaukee and Philadelphia. That's a good series there. Adrian Hauser versus Zach Wheeler. Texas and Oakland. Not much to watch there. St. Louis and Cincinnati. Dakota Hudson versus Tyler Mahle. 3:10. It is not on Apple TV, so rejoice in that. I heard that was a disaster yesterday. Boston, Tampa Bay, 5:10. Colorado, they're kind of a surprise this year. That's a matchup that I like. Colorado, they've played well. They lost last night to the Phillies, so they didn't get the chance to sweep. Actually, excuse me, that was a few days ago. Let's full schedule here because they should have played a game by now. Okay, so they haven't played since Wednesday. So, because yesterday was postponed. Okay, so they have 3 games today, or 2 games today, doubleheader today, one at 12:10, one at 5:40, and then tomorrow is the 3rd game. So they've got a doubleheader today. So the Rockies, I really like the Rockies this year. They're kind of flying under the radar a little bit. Second in the NL West, game and a half behind the Dodgers, and they're staying right there with the Giants and with the Padres. Can they keep it up long term? We talked about that Tuesday night on Between the Lines. I don't think they can. Rodney doesn't think they can. But right now, I mean, you have to buy into the hype a little bit because they're playing very well and they're finding ways to win games. So they've won every series so far. They split a 4-game series with the Cubs. So, but they're off to a great start. So the Rockies buying into the hype a little bit there in the NL West. Let's see what else we have here today to wrap things up. Miami and Atlanta, we saw last night the standing ovation for Jorge Soler. A big part of the reason why Atlanta won a championship last year. Los Angeles, San Diego, that matchup's going on. Tyler Anderson versus Yu Darvish today in San Diego. That'll be Sunday Night Baseball tomorrow, I believe. Should be, at least. No, actually, it's Milwaukee at Philadelphia. That's kind of surprising. And then that's really about it for games-wise. So a lot of good baseball going on this weekend. You got NBA playoffs as well. NHL regular season wrapping up. The Blues played tonight in Anaheim against the Ducks. But for me, that'll do it this week on the Colten Kahler Show. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next week right back here. It's Saturday at 9 a.m. Thanks, guys.